What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hidden Power, a Pokemon podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about regional fakes, Convergent evolution, and we're also going to be speculating on new regional fakes for Scarlet and Violet DLC. Super excited to get into this episode. With me today, we have the Lumiose Post.
Hello.
And Soul Silver Art.
What's up?
My name is Dusty Go-Go. Let's get into it, guys. In Scarlet and Violet, we were given 4 very peculiar Pokemon. These Pokemon were Wiglet, right? Looks very particularly similar to Diglett. There's also its evolution, Wugtrio. Very weird. Beautiful shiny, but very weird. We also have, really good shiny. We also have Toadschool, which is, I don't know about you, that looks like a Tentacool. And its evolution, Toadscruel.
Also really cool shiny.
Really great shinies all around on these Pokemon.
That's apparently a trait of them.
Yeah, they have just like incredible shinies. I would love to get your initial takes on these Pokemon, the fact that they're not actually forms of the Pokemon that they look identical to. This is a brand new thing in Generation 9, and it's kind of in opposition to regional forms, right? For the last couple generations now, for like 6-7 years, we've been getting regional forms, which seems to be a fan favorite and a staple of the franchise, especially when we get new games. And now all of a sudden we have these new Pokemon that are not even forms. They're brand new Pokemon with dex entries of their own, but they look strikingly similar to old Pokemon. What do you guys think about these?
I love them. I love them so much. I think that they're such a good contrast, because like the difference between these and regional forms are that like regional forms, take Diglett for example. Diglett has a regional form and a regional fake, if you will, and its regional form is a lowland Diglett, which is Diglett's a mole, and a lowland Diglett is another type of mole. Okay. But the difference with Convergent evolution or regional fakes, whatever you want to call these, is that it's a completely different species. So Wiglet is an eel. It's a garden eel. That is completely different from a mole. That's not even the same, like, that's not even the same. I forget what they're called, but, like, one's a mammal and one's a fish.
Yes.
Completely different.
Ew, that's kind of gross that this is a fish.
I mean, the eel's a fish. You ever had eel? It's amazing, to be honest.
I have not.
It is a
really
fish.
good sushi.
You guys eat that in North Carolina?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, sushi, man. It's delicious.
We eat a lot of lobster here in Massachusetts.
That's better.
So that all makes sense. You're coming in strong with the facts. I'm curious to hear what Soul thinks of these Pokemon.
He thought that we were going to argue about their names or classifications, but we're going to argue about if they're good or not. I don't like them. Okay. I don't like them. I mean, okay.
You don't like them?
I don't. It's not that I don't like them. I don't love them. And it might just be because of the Pokemon that they chose. Like, I need to see this as like a scissor or something. I need a scissor, Convergent species, whatever.
That'd be cool.
That's what I need. Because to see it. I do like Toadscruel a lot. I like Toadscruel a lot.
Toadscruel is really good. Yeah. It feels like a tree. It just feels like it's a mushroom, right?
It feels different enough. If you see it in the game, like when all of its legs are together straight, it looks like a straight up mushroom, and like its actual head like isn't like a jellyfish head anymore. It's like actual underneath looks like mushroom little flaps. It's good.
Yeah, I like. I love seeing Toadschool run in the game. Just take it.
It looks like a cartoon character.
I love it. I love it so much. It's so funny.
I do.
I like the shiny a lot more. It's just
also,
so like goofy.
Yeah, but see, I love that. There's got to be some of that. Like,
I agree.
I would hate if every Mon was like Toadschool and they were all goofy, but I would also hate if every Mon was like Surledge, where it's just all these like super hardcore kind of edgy designs, I want to mix both.
It's like
I feel like these don't actually even have names, right? A regional fake of Scizor. So Soul, do you want to give us like a quick little background on the term regional fake? This is not an official Pokemon term.
Yeah, so we have a Riddler leaker, and so in that atmosphere, let's say, he can't just plainly leak things, so he comes up with code names for things. And the main reason that he came up for a code name for this is that he thought it was a regional form when he first saw it. So he was like, oh, this is a regional form. And then he ended up finding out that it wasn't a regional form, and he was like, "Oh, this is a fake regional form," so he called it a regional fake for all of us to figure out. Then the whole thing comes into play where it's a convergent species of evolution.
What these Pokemon are a different species that evolves to have specific characteristics that resemble other Pokemon. As far as we know, only these two Pokemon exist, right? Toadscool is a mushroom. It's a grass and ground type that looks like the water and poison type. Tentacool, which is supposed to be a jellyfish. And then same thing, like you said, Wiglet, the fish evolves to look like the mole Pokemon Diglett. And these Pokemon have brand new Dex entries. They have brand new names. They really, for all intents and purposes, brand new typings for all reasons, have no relation to Diglett other than the fact that they share a long body, the same dumb eyes, and round nose.
Wow! So it's really coming at them.
So all of these similarities are purely visual, and not biological in any sense. So,
right. Like they straight up say that it's a coincidence that Wiglet looks so similar to Diglett.
I think that's what we should call them. I don't know why no one else wants to call them that, but they should just be called coincidence Pokemon. That's it.
That's what Convergent evolution is. It's just coincidence.
It's not coincidence.
It is. Convergent evolution is coincidence in the sense that Pokemon had similar animals in the real world. They're not called Pokemon here. But everything's a Pokemon to me. I walk outside and see a squirrel, and I want to know why I can't catch it. Look, a Pachirisu.
Give me your Lepa berries.
But Convergent evolution in the real world is where animals have similar environments, and it allows them to evolve and adapt similar traits. So like I just sent a picture in chat where like a fish, a shark, a mammal, a dolphin, a reptile, the ichthyosaur, and a bird, a penguin, they all live in a similar environment, and because of that they adapt some very similar traits, and that's what these Pokemon have done. Wiglet lives underground. Even though it's in the ocean, it's underground. It's that burrowing thing, so it adapts a very similar body type to Diglett. Now, for Tentacool, I will admit I don't know what the common
evolutionary pressure
would be, but I mean, I'm sure someone smarter than me in the comments below can mention it. I do also want to say I think it's interesting that when I first saw Wiglet, I was a little upset that wasn't water ground, but it actually makes sense. What it is that these Pokemon have the same amount of types as the regular Pokemon. Diglett has one type. It is pure ground.
Yeah.
So Wiglet is pure water. Tentacool had water poison. So Toadscool has grass ground. They match the types up, which is good to know for if we decide to start speculating on what other ones we could see down the road. That's kind of a good guide to follow, I guess.
So I would push back a little bit on the term coincidence. Coincidence suggests that there's really no point or reason why these Pokemon ended up looking so similar. But I think the reason that they look so similar is because of evolutionary pressures, right? There's a reason for all of these things to evolve to look like how we imagine a shark, right? It's got flippers,
right.
It's very sleek, it's got fins or whatever. That makes sense. It's in order to swim. What's up, Soul?
I was just going to say that I don't completely disagree with convergent evolution, calling them that. Lumi was thinking that, but I'm it's definitely close. The thing is that it's a Pokemon version of it, so it's not as
of course.
It's not like that. That's the thing is when you look at it, you're just this is not convergent evolution because if you go back to that other picture, I don't know what it was, a shark and a whale. They're both in the water. They're the same. Some people think that whales are fish, but they're not. So that's you got to extreme it with Pokemon. As for your coincidence point, and the whole argument against convergent evolution in general is just that there's no connection between them at all. Saying that Wiglet and Diglett evolved from a common ancestor. There's no they were once this one Pokemon and they split and became these other ones. Or
Convergent evolution isn't like that. Convergent evolution is two totally different. They do not share an ancestor and just happen to adapt the same traits because of the environment they're in. It's purely based on environment. They do not share a common ancestor.
Well, that makes more sense. But
Divergent evolution is what you're describing.
Right. So with the coincidence, though, it's just kind of works. That's why they used it. Pokemon themselves used it to be like, oh, it's just a coincidence that they look alike. Like they don't share anything at all other than their looks. So, and then the thing with the like Toedscool line, it's another like extreme where it's like this is a jellyfish that's becoming a plant, not like another animal or anything. So it's very Pokemon-ified, let's call it.
Yeah. I mean, but that makes sense. I mean, everything we have in Pokemon is Pokemon-ified, Evolution, Pikachu instantaneously becoming a Raichu, that is not evolution. That's more like metamorphosis.
That's the thing, though, is like people can argue that, which is that's where we are at with this kind of thing. I mean, people don't really argue this that much anymore. I think our fakes is just easier to say, and that's why people still say that.
I like to. It was
also so iconic too, I think.
Yeah, it was, especially during the league season. I like to imagine that there's a version of a Toedscool or Toedscool where it doesn't look like Tentacruel and it kind of looks like slightly different, a different type of Pokemon, and that would essentially be like before it evolved to exactly look like Tentacool and Tentacruel. It was another type of mushroom, like Morlul, or like the mushroom on the back of Paris, or Shroomish.
I mean, maybe in a future Legends game we could see that, like a Hisuian, if you will, because I don't know the other region names, but Hisuian Toedscool, and this looks a little bit less like Tentacool,
right.
but still kind of, it looks like an in-between of Tentacool and Toedscool in the sense that like it's less like Tentacool, but is more mushroom.
Yeah, and
that would mess with my brain.
It would a little bit, because it's like when we look at these, we just think of regional forms, but they're really not that at all. I think it's an interesting take. I think also at like on the timeline of like the Pokemon timeline, I feel like these could also continue to further evolve to look less like what they resemble at the moment. I think a lot of us, when we saw Wiglet, we were like, there was some great art going around on Twitter that like Wiglet would look more like an eel when it evolved into Wugtrio. It looks I know, right? It looks very much like Dugtrio, but it still also looks. It doesn't exactly look like Dugtrio. It does look like a separate progression in a different way, almost as if Wugtrio evolved for the third time, it would actually look a lot different from Dugtrio.
Which again, is convergent evolution. A shark and a dolphin, they've got those similarities, but you're not going to see a shark, and unless you're just seeing like the fin, you're not going to see a whole shark and go, "Oh, is that a dolphin?" No, you're going to know the difference, and especially when you branch out to like a dolphin and a penguin, you're not confusing those.
And there was a lot of Pokemon. I mean, I think throughout the years, there's been a lot, especially as the dex has grown more and more and more, and we're finally at 1,000 Pokemon. There's been a lot of entries where people go, why is this not an evolution of this Pokemon, right? Or why did you introduce something that looks so similar to a Pokemon that already exists, right? I'm thinking of a Alomomola in Lubdisk. Obviously, that is
a big one.
Yeah, that was a really big one. A lot of Pokemon in Gen 5 did kind of have that vibe. I'm thinking also of Bouffalont looking just like a puffy Tauros. So I feel
I always thought that one was a stretch, but the Alomomola
I did too. I did too, but that one was popular.
Yeah,
so
I
think we see a lot of crossovers or hints to this type of convergent evolution, or at least like not full convergent evolution, but there are, just like in the real world, there are multiple animals that have similar traits even though they're classified as separate Pokemon. So I don't even think it's that much of a stretch, even if you just look at like all of the butterfly Pokemon. I guess that is different because they're all butterflies. But I don't know, right?
You went through so many points.
Sorry, but even so, a better way to think of it: Zubat and Pidgey, they both fly, right? One's a mammal, one's a bird. I feel like that is to this point, that is still convergent evolution. I guess the only difference is that it's not Pokemonified to make these things look like comically similar.
Yeah, I guess it's like a thing of like if regional variants were Pokemon's version of microevolution, things like the Darwin's finches and stuff, then this is Pokemon's answer to, but not fully complete. This is Pokemon's version of convergent evolution.
Yeah,
is what I would argue.
Yeah, so I'm glad we went back because I wanted to go all the way back. Basically, the whole problem really to me is just that people get way too I don't know, invested in terms and stuff when it's just Pokemon, and I know we have to pick a name to identify what things are just so that we know for ourselves, but then people get way too this is not real world science. You know what I mean? We don't need to go so deep into this being convergent evolution and all the little micro details of that stuff, and people get really stuck on it, and I'm just like, it's convergent, it's coincidence, it's a fake Pokemon.
I don't like the term coincidence.
It's true, but coincidence it's too complicated to say. Coincidence, convergent.
Coincidence is like I stubbed my toe, and I think it's because Lumiose set a hex on me or something. When in reality, it's just
I'm just going off of what the official Pokemon thing said. That's all.
That's true. That is true. That's fair. You said it says coincidence?
Was on the Wiglet one where it got revealed. So it might be the official Pokemon website. It may not be in its dex, but it was in the official reveal of it.
No, the resemblance seems to be a coincidental result of environmental adaptation.
Which is literally convergent evolution. That is, by definition, convergent evolution.
Love it. All right, I'm going to look up coincidental and see what the actual definition... Resulting from a coincidence. Happened by chance. Is it chance?
It's by chance. I mean,
they say... But it's not. They said that it's
without
because of environmental pressures. So that's not coincidence. That's not chance. That's environment.
Apparently, coincidence means a remarkably concurrent of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. And I think there is a causal connection, so it's not a coincidence.
Exactly.
They're sending mixed messages here. So.
Right.
They said both in one sentence, so I don't know.
And I will say, in response to your whole getting hung up in terms, I'm a theory channel. That's primarily what I've at least been doing the last month. I do a lot of things, but theories is definitely a big part of them. And I think it comes from my desire to make these theories comes from a thing of just wanting the games to be more immersion. I want to be able to make science out of it. Even if I have to tweak science to fit Pokemon's world and Pokemon's physics, you want to explain the world. It's why people care so much about if AZ caused Area Zero or if, paradoxes are imagined or actual ancestors. It's because they want this world to have, even if it's Pokemonified logic to it, they want it to have some logic because that builds immersion.
Yeah, I'm just not made that way, I think. In my brain, I'm just I don't need it to be all that. It's just me. But I will say, even what you brought up the example with evolution, that's exactly the same situation, but reversed. We shouldn't be calling it evolution then when a Pokemon evolves. And that's it. People just let that one go.
So I think I feel like we've talked about this before. I think the term evolution is kind of a catch-all. So traditional evolution. So I think any time a Pokemon changes forms or off-screen, there's a regional transformation in some way, or even these convergent species, right? Mega evolution. I think any of those can be classified as evolution, and I think each of them take form and are interacted with in a different way. When you can either level up to evolve, you can either use a stone to evolve, you can move the Pokemon to another region, and then that triggers an evolution, a regional
super
evolution,
speed
right?
evolution.
Yeah, but each of those I feel happens through the same instantaneous metamorphosis. Even if you take what is it? Just classic Wooper, and you breed eggs in Paldea, the eggs will be Paldean Wooper, right? In real life, that would make no sense because there's some sort of chemical from the region that that like changes the DNA of the Pokemon immediately.
Right.
And that obviously, so none of that obviously makes sense with the real world.
And then an
connection.
Everstone for some reason overrides that
Exactly.
chemical presence.
So I think any sort of transformation in the Pokemon universe is called evolution, even though it's metamorphosis.
Yeah. So it's just my whole point is not to argue that either one is right or wrong.
Yeah.
My whole point is just that it's a Pokemon version. Like it's Pokemon evolution and it's Pokemon Convergent evolution.
I definitely agree with that.
But the thing is that people get it too mixed up and try to make it like real life. A lot of times I've seen so many arguments.
Everything is going to be some kind of Pokemonized version of it. Because even if you just look at the basic evolution, like you do have some drastic things like Magikarp going from a fish to a dragon.
Yeah,
and
right?
that would be
extreme.
more, even though it's instantaneous, that would be like more like evolution. But then that same form of evolution is also Caterpie becoming a Metapod and then a Butterfree. Well, that's literally metamorphosis.
That's
so like
literally.
it's all a Pokemonized version of things. And then I mean you have, at no point does my dog mega evolve, I mean it's
I wish.
Freaking awesome.
If you're over in Britain and your pets randomly start growing big, let us know in the comments below.
Dude, I wish my dog was made of cooking bread dough.
Right,
that'd be nice.
Right. Yeah.
Just pull off a piece every now and then.
Appleton, you can do that. You can eat the skin on its back.
That's so weird.
Disturbing. I don't like that they.
But if it was good, like would you eat it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you figure what do we eat? We
eat animals.
It's true, yeah. Lechonk
are parts of the world where they eat like horse and stuff. I mean,
I was about to say something.
You could probably eat go-go.
I think I'm gonna say it.
Go-go cheese. It's amazing.
No,
it's amazing.
I've had horse before.
Have you?
That's
good.
It's kind of common in Italy in the south.
I bet it's good.
I didn't know that.
It's very good. It was really good what I had. I don't know. Maybe it's tough.
Does it taste more like beef?
Yeah. It tastes closer to beef than like venison. Like it doesn't taste like a deer at all.
All right, that's interesting.
That would make sense. I could see that.
I would try
that. Are horses ruminants? They're not ruminants, are they?
I don't know.
So do you guys think, or would you like to see more of these convergent Pokemon in the future, right? Because they do take up a deck slot. I mean, I think for a long time people have been like, there's no way they're ever going to do 1,000 Pokemon. That's too many. They'll have to end the series. We have 1,000 Pokemon now. I don't think there's any limit to what they're going to be creating.
Now, look, people have to understand this. Pokemon makes money. They sold 10 million units in the first 3 days. If they keep making money, they're not going to go, well, we're at 1,000. We should just call it here, guys. No, if they're making money, they're going to keep making more. Look no further than Disney. Those people, they now own like everything. And I mean, they're still making money because you're still going to see their movies. And so they're going to keep making them. You know what I mean? So
Pokemon's going to be around for as long as possible. Lumi, you and I were talking off camera yesterday, and like, it's kind of funny. It's like we were the guys around in the beginning of Pokemon. We're the same people who were around when Star Wars was first out in movie theaters. Even in 20, 30 years, we're going to be the old heads talking about Gen 1, Gen 2, and then the new, it's like we've already seen that like generational continuation, but I think it's not going to stop. There's no reason for it to stop.
No, it's not.
Only if the quality goes down. That's the only way. Because this is a whole nother conversation, but if people if they just continue pushing out stuff just for money, like you're saying, which could happen, it just gets bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Right. And I feel like maybe that's a whole episode.
But for someone to be the highest grossing media franchise in the world, they're clearly going to be able to adapt to that. I mean,
you'd hope.
Look, Pokemon is probably going to outlive us.
That's kind of sad.
I've had that thought a million times, actually. I'm just like, man, if I die, I'm not going to see the next Pokemon.
Right. No,
imagine not seeing Gen 30s, like the Fire Starter. That's kind of sad.
But I don't know if it'll outlive us, to be honest. We'll see.
I think it will. Look no further than Disney. Bambi, for example, that movie is like 1 billion years old, but there are still kids who their favorite, like 6-year-olds right now, whose favorite movie is Bambi. Even though that movie literally came out in like the 1940s or something. I mean,
okay, the real that's a good point, but the real question is Toad School someone's favorite Pokemon?
Yes.
That's the real question.
It is someone's favorite.
Do we think we're going to get more of these Convergent Pokemon in the future? I feel like the fact that they only gave us 4 of these, or 2 evolutionary lines, feels like they're just like testing the waters.
I think they're largely light.
Yeah, I think they are too. I have to go back a little bit with just saying that, like you were saying, Dusty, about the Convergent evolution and talking about if that's a real term or not. In like the Pokemon world, in like our theory worlds, you know, like in our head canon, to be Dusty Go-Goat for you. Yeah, that stuff can be like that. But then if you take it outside and look at the actual development side of things, like these are just regional forms.
Yes.
Like they're literally just more regional forms, just made in a slightly different way and called something different.
Okay. I disagree with that though.
I'm not saying that they literally are. I'm saying they took the place of regional forms. They are regional forms. We got 2 regional forms.
I think that we may see this replace regional form. Now, in fairness, I do think another reason that they went lesser on the regional forms was also because of the paradoxes. But, you know, it's just a lot of things that resemble current Pokemon that already exist. But I do think that their goal is to replace regional variants. And the reason why is because it's not sustainable. I mean, you have right now, we have how many different kinds of forms? We have 4 different regional variants. We have Alolan, we have Galarian, we have Hisuian, and we have Paldean. That's great. 4 is easy to keep up with. But you think they are thinking long term. Mm-hmm. When you get to, especially if we have a Legends game and a new
Jotonian forms, Colosian forms, new Kanto forms of Gen 8 Pokemon. Like they could just keep doing this. There's 5 more regions that are going to have new forms.
With
Legends,
and the issue with that is, so you get to even like 14. So you've got all these different ones, plus the Jotonian, Cantonian, Ancient Cantonian, whatever those Legends games will be. You have all of those. It's now so hard to get those in game because the only way to get them is by bringing them from past games. Well, how do you get them from past games? We're talking about Gym 15 here. We're talking about, whatever 6 times 3, 18 years down the line.
Facts.
These games, Legends Arceus isn't going to be accessible. Think about how hard it is to access. What was a game that came out 18 years ago? I mean, Diamond and Pearl was 15, so Diamond and Pearl is a hard game to access now. You would have to access those games to get those forms. But these are things that you can keep. Toad School can be in the Gen 10 region. Wiglet can be in the Gen 12 region because they're not limited to Paldean. Wooper.
Right. It is their fix for it, no doubt.
Right.
It's their fix for it. But that's what my point was in general, is that they basically are the same thing, just remade in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do think they're more drastic, and I think that might just be the direction they go now, is that now they're going to do more drastic, like it's not jellyfish to different jellyfish. It's jellyfish to mushroom. I do think that's another thing they're clearly trying to do there, is make them more drastic.
Mm-hmm. It'd be funny if they'd never even thought of this and they just literally came up with the concept that they wanted to make it like this. And it's just we just want to make a jellyfish into a mushroom. That's it. It has nothing to do with all this other stuff.
I personally feel like regional forms kind of got a little stale. They were so exciting. So, it felt like one of the best ideas they could have ever done. And it's still a good idea because it allows them to, reinterpret old designs, right? A lot of people, I feel like regional forms are supposed to, like when I see Fakemon regional forms, they feel like they'll make a regional form that is like a fix to what they thought this Pokemon should have been. But really a regional form is like a retyping of an older Pokemon, right? And I feel like that kind of got a little, I don't know, maybe it's just the Galar ones. It felt a little stale.
Only got stale this gen. To me, it only felt stale this gen.
That could have been it,
because there were only 2.
I think you nailed it in general, that it's the Fakemon that actually did it. Because when you look back, so I did think this as well, what you were saying, like they were getting stale. But then if you look back, like Alolan Diglett was awful. Like that
was so bad.
That is bad. Stale. It
should not exist.
Stale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not.
However, Vulpix is one of the best like regional forms.
Totally.
I feel like Alolan Vulpix has surpassed traditional Vulpix.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the thing. Yeah,
but
some
when
of
you
them
look
are
at
loved
it-
more than the originals.
Yeah.
Right, but when you look
It's-
at it, Alolan Vulpix is not that different from regular.
It's
Vulpix.
not. It's an ice Vulpix, but that is still a really cool idea. And I
Yeah.
feel like these convergent, these regional fakes, it's a totally different take. It's like now you have to like, it's a totally different take. We can have some crazy new Pokemon designs because of this implementation.
Totally. I think that what you said with the Fakemon is what really did it for regional forms. Is that people in the meantime, in the middle between generations, people were looking at all like fake regional forms that fan artists are doing, and they're amazing, but they're nothing close to like what an actual regional form would be like. And so like
Mr. Rhyme, like what?
Well, that's an evolution. Yeah, it's a little different.
I'm sorry. Well, Galarian Mr. Mime.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't like that.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I like
it's literally
Mr.
just
Rhyme,
it's an
though.
ice
I
Mr.
do like
Mime.
Mr. Rhyme. I do like Mr. Rhyme. He's funny.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm neutral. I'm neutral on it. I feel like I feel like the regional forms have potential. Well, actually, let's look at this because now, like, what are the regional forms that we have for Generation 9? We have Tauros.
Paldean Wooper. Yeah.
Tauros and Wooper.
We have Tauros, and Tauros is literally we got 3 of them. Oh yeah, and Wooper. That's literally it.
Tauros is literally
I think
the combat breed is literally just a black Tauros.
Yeah.
But they did kind of fix. I know you're saying like they're kind of stale. Like Wooper, yeah, it's literally a color swap and a little change, and then,
it is a new type.
Yeah, the Paldean Tauros, the combat one is so unnecessary, but the other 2 are really
cool,
good.
I like that,
especially the fire one.
Yeah, I like the water one.
I like the water one the best too. The whole like water buffalo thing that was pretty neat. I like that.
I'm just edgy, I guess.
Yeah.
No, the fire
one.
The fire one is cool. I think I like how I don't know the water buffalo one is something that no one had predicted. Like everyone wanted the fire. Literally, there was like anyways. Yeah, everyone wanted firefighting Tauros. I was like,
I like how it uses its tail as a propeller.
Yeah, that too.
Cool.
The water one. So, I don't know who wants to take this one, but there was, I'm pretty sure they did a data mine and found, they found evidence of a convergent Magikarp.
It seems like it was scrapped. It's so like the whole basis is that if you look at the coding for Wiglet, it is basically like some word Diglett. It's a Japanese word. I don't know it, but let's say it's fake. It's not fake, but for the sake of argument, we're going to say it's fake. So it's like Wiglet's coding is fake Diglett. Wugtrio's coding is fake Dugtrio. But the interesting thing is Tentacool and Tentacruel, it's not fake Tentacool and fake Tentacruel. It's fake Magikarp and fake Gyarados. Well, obviously, they are not convergent evolutions or regional fakes or whatever of Magikarp and Gyarados. So the implication here is that was what was originally planned, was Magikarp and Gyarados getting a convergent evolution. And this is also further referenced in that Wiglet and Diglett are both found in Paldea. Tentacool and Tentacruel are not found in Paldea. Magikarp and Gyarados are, but not Tentacool and Tentacruel.
That's an interesting point.
Even regular Wooper is found in Paldea.
Right.
It's like
It is?
It should be there. Yeah.
It's in the coding. It's not found
it's in the coding.
Okay. Like you can get it from a trade in the Water Gym town.
Okay.
Right. So
I gotta find that.
Yeah, so like the convergent or version of Tentacool. What am I saying here? The actual one Tentacool should be in Paldea. Because Diglett is in Paldea. It's just like to show that they are separate Pokemon. It should really be there.
That's interesting. That does kind of throw a wrench into the theory.
It is a question though of there's 2 things they can do here. Like for one, it could be, hey, let's scrap the Magikarp thing and save that for DLC because that's such a popular Pokemon and it can be the poster child of it in a similar way to how Slowpoke, pretty popular Pokemon was Galarian Slowpoke was like the face of the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC. Yeah. So they could be saving Magikarp and Gyarados for that because obviously Magikarp and Gyarados are very iconic Pokemon. Or it could be a thing of they scrapped the design altogether and did this instead. Either way, I would say that this means that Tentacle coming back in DLC is pretty much a lock, in my opinion.
Yeah, like if it's over in that southern, that like in between area of Kalos and
Right.
Paldea, I could see if it's there, and then it's also in the inland of Paldea. That
It
makes
fixed that mistake, right?
exactly. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think-
the big question is Magikarp scrapped or is it scrapped for now? You know?
Well, there's also another possibility is that they just used it for a placeholder, which is really random and probably not what the case. But they could have just been like, they just had it in their minds to be a Magikarp or whatever, and they never actually made a design, and they just scrapped
Maybe.
the whole name. You know,
Maybe.
and they do, like you said, they do cut Pokemon all the time. Like there are files of cut Pokemon out there, as we've seen in like
Yeah.
Gen 1 and
Well, and we
2.
even
So-
know of Pokemon that exist now but were cut from before. So like Phantomp, James Turner has stated, was cut from a previous gen. So that's a beta Pokemon that was cut. There was a Grass Goat that was cut from Unova. That was likely Go-Goat, you know?
Yep. Yeah, so it could just be cut altogether, or it could come in the DLC. I hope it's in the DLC. That'd be a cool Convergent species, I think.
That would be
really
an
cool.
epic Convergent species. What do you think that would be? Like, I don't know, because
Oh yeah, like what would it be based on?
It would
if
have
it's
been
so
perfect.
drastic, if it's so drastic, like from jellyfish to mushroom or mole to eel, what would this one? What could? Because how do you change Magikarp? I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's
and
a
Magikarp and
fish.
Gyarados are so different. I don't know how you'd change it to something that can look like Magikarp, but then evolve into something that looks like Gyarados. The only
might
thing
be
I
why
can
they
think
cut
of
it.
is like a snake. I could see
Yeah,
like it
I
being
could see a
snake.
snake. A snake makes
And in
sense.
Magikarp, it's coiled, where like from
Let me-
above it has the pattern of a Magikarp, and then Gyarados is like an actual big snake.
Let me look
So-
up like baby snakes.
The snake thing is actually a great way to do it. Because I was going to say the most perfect way that they could have done it is use Beta Gyarados. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the first
Yes.
like ever drawing of Gyarados was like a worm. And
right.
it would have been perfect if they didn't have Orthworm and even the Dunsparce in this generation. You know, because then it's like, oh, we're going to do another worm-looking thing.
Right.
So I don't think that they will do that unless a snake could work. It would just be like one of your Star Wars snakes, Dusty.
Yeah.
right.
You end up going in their mouth
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, yeah, there must be a type of snake. I guess it could just be like a little snake head. I'm trying to think. Maybe
Well,
a
they
frog.
like to connect Pokemon too. Like Tinkaton and Corviknight are from different gens, and they kind of connected them, made them rivals or whatever. So I think it would be pretty neat if they did it with a Rankaroo and Slowking too. I think it would be neat if they could do the Gyarados as the worm or whatever, and just kind of it and Orthworm are rivals.
Yeah.
Make it water, ground, and stuff. Or, well, the idea would be that it would not have either the water type or the flying type. It would be Magikarp would be like, say, ground, and then Gyarados would be ground and something else, but that something else would not be water or flying.
So this is a snakehead fish found in Georgia. It says kill it immediately. We're not. Gonna
I've
do
seen
that,
those.
but-
I've seen those. They're very, very. Those things are mean.
Really?
Yeah, they're very mean. We can catch them off. I'm on the coast, and we can catch them off the coast here.
Kind of has a
good
carp.
bit.
It kind of has a carp face, but that's a fish. That's not
Right.
It. But
The
in
problem is
Pokemon, they could
Magikarp.
make it a snake. Yeah, exactly.
The
I
problem with
imagine
Magikarp is you can make
Magikarp would
snake
be a
fish.
coiled snake, and it just would look like Magikarp from above. Like it would have the patterns of a Magikarp on it, but it would be
What am
coiled in its Magikarp form, and then Gyarados would actually be like a big, just
Like
it's-
Sandaconda.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. That's
Or
bizarre.
even like how Ekans is depicted now. Like Ekans is. depicted.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just kind of like spiraled up. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really hope. 'Cause, I mean, that is on paper. That sounds so freaking good. So I really hope that this isn't like scrapped for good or like Soul said, a placeholder. I hope that this is something that like they just decided to move to DLC because that is genius.
I
mean,
do.
that- so
I do
good.
think that there will be some in DLC, like at least one. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to make it like the poster child in the same way that Slowpoke was.
Yeah. Man, that was a like letdown moment though, that it was just that
It
regional
was,
form.
and like we thought that it was there'd be like Dustox too because of Clara's bow. They baited us there.
Yeah, they still did. Even in this generation, I'm like, it's coming in this generation. It was a tease to this generation.
Right.
No,
But then,
no Dustox.
Nope.
No Dustox.
I'm trying to look at all these Pokemon to see if there's like one that stands out where I could be like, oh, this could be a convergent species, right? I mean, we were talking about like Masquerain having a paradox, but it does have those giant eyes. I could see that being changed in some way to be like real life eyes of a convergent species of Masquerain.
This is a good point, actually. To me, it's really hard to think about making these regional fakes. Like, whenever I try to think of it in my mind, I can't do it. Like, I don't know. Other people,
here's
I
one.
haven't seen many artists either do it.
So Psyduck, right? We think of it as a Psyduck. It's based on a Kappa, at least Golduck is. But in a lot of ways, it resembles a platypus, which is a mammal, right?
Could do that, yeah.
Which has a bill. In Psyduck,
Australia region, they'll do it maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or they could do it in this. I don't know. I think that's something. Yeah,
could. I wish
you're
they'd
right.
save it.
You really are right that it's difficult to think of these because we're so used to being like.
Yeah, the problem with that one is it's too close. I think
it is pretty close, but it is a mammal, right?
Picture them,
Mm-hmm.
but
And that's
I can't like draw them because I'm terrible with art.
Yeah, and it's a real life example of convergent species, I think, right? Like maybe not the species, but it has convergent traits. It has the duckbill, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a little closer. I mean, it's not
as wild.
Bigger.
Yeah.
It's just I think Game Freak themselves would want to do more drastic changes than that. Like just what we were talking about earlier, like way more Pokemon-ified. Like it's got to be like a jellyfish to a plant kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they make an actual tree that is based on Sudowoodo. So there's actually like a grass type Sudowoodo out there.
That would be cool. And make a lot of sense. You can't do like, I mean, they might. Don't get me wrong. They can do whatever they want, and they do what they want. But it's not probably going to be duck to like weird duck. You know, weird hairy duck.
Yeah. Something like Mareep. I'm actually just looking at Mareep right now with all the fur on it. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that can have that fur, and it doesn't necessarily need to be. It also doesn't need to be like I don't know. I feel like a mammal could evolve into or have a convergent species that's also a mammal.
It does in the real world. It's just a question of like how close Pokemon would get to real thing. You know, kind of what we were going back to earlier.
In my mind, when I try to
Flapple
make them
could be a bat, easy.
Yeah, it's true.
What could? Flapple?
Flapple.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good one.
A fruit bat.
Fruit bat, yeah. Make it like an
That'd be
orange
really
instead
good.
of an apple.
That's great.
The issue is, what would you do with Appleton?
Yeah,
can
that
it?
is the issue.
Yeah, can it?
I mean, you could.
you could. It could just be
apples?
that. It could be that evolution. The problem is, what do you do with apple?
You could.
Like,
what is
you just make them
Appleton
a
based
fruit.
off of? What is it? I mean, is it a dog, a turtle? What is that thing?
It's a dragon.
Appleton? It's a dragon.
He's a dragon. Like
They're
a
all
classic dragon.
You make it a dog. One evolves into a bat. One evolves into a dog. Have you seen a bat? They kind of
See,
look
that's not
like a
convergent
dog.
evolution.
There it is.
Okay, so
guess
you
they're-
could make it. I can see it. You could make it into a bat, but it would have to be a fat bat with like the little like wings on the back of Appleton. You know, it has wings, right? Like the two little apple things. So like those could be like its little bat wings, and then have a really fat body and just be Appleton.
That's cool.
What a bat.
That's
you
cool.
could do that, or you could even do like if they wanted to do kind of a play on words. One type of bat is called a flying fox, and so you make Flapple a flying fox bat. Then you make Appleton just a fox. You know, so you play off that word. You know,
That'd be fun.
Cool.
See, you have good ideas for it. You don't. Not that you don't have to draw it, but at least you can picture it in your mind, and that's enough for.
I know, but
someone
I
like
wish
me to
I could
draw
bring it to life. Okay, well, great, Soul. We need to partner on this. All right.
I'd actually really. I might make a fruit bat Flapple because I've been saying forever. I haven't tweeted this ever, but I have like a saved like sentence that says we need a fruit bat Pokemon, like a flying fox Pokemon. I want one badly.
Yes, I agree.
That,
Their
like,
bat
is a
Pokemon
fox.
are always so good too. I love the Zubat line. I love the Noibat line, and I'm not a big fan of Woobat, but I do think Swoobat's pretty cool. I think it's underrated. I think it gets a lot of
I
unnecessary
hate
hate.
them. I
Okay,
hate them.
alrighty.
Here's another one. Here's another one. We have we have the crustacean. Actually, is it a crustacean? Crabrawler, right?
Yeah.
Fighting type, not actually in the water. What if there's a bug type Pokemon? It's like a scorpion or something that looks like Crabrawler. I can see
Could definitely work.
I could see that. Like, you just change it to where that top part is actually it curling up its pincher.
Oh, that's cool.
And then
Dude,
the
Louis good at this.
fister.
Yeah,
I could totally see
you
that.
got good ideas.
Yeah, but I can't bring him
I
to
can't
life,
pick
so it's
him.
pointless.
You got it. That's why you need people. Just collaborate.
Magikarp's so weird. I have no idea how they could make that a snake or something.
Well, like I said, it's depicted in the games. It's depicted not like that, but like on the ground flopping, right?
Yeah.
So you do it like put Magikarp on its side and just draw snake lines over it. Like it's literally just a snake that has the pattern of a Magikarp.
It's like a wide snake.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like the snake that like a cobra where it has the wide neck.
Yeah, you could even do that too. Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool.
Or you could just like get Snake out of your mind completely and go for something else. I don't
It's
know what you
also
could
true.
do.
You could, but I mean, please
It's
suggest
a leaf.
something.
Maybe it's a leaf
No, I
that
have
evolves into a tree.
I could see that. That's actually
I
really
would
good.
hate that. I would hate
That's
that.
actually
though.
good though.
Ugh.
You could see it as a leaf, right, sitting
Yeah.
flat, and
Yeah.
it had the eye in the mouth, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when it evolves into Gyarados, it's just like standing straight up,
Yeah.
like a tree.
Or even kind of go.
And
a
it's like
little bit further
super
from that.
rigid. It can't bend at all.
With
See,
like a
that makes
crazy
sense because I
Gyarados
was still.
face.
Yeah, I was still. That's funny because I was still thinking Gyarados in the water, but that makes no. We can't think of that.
Go further than that and say it's like one of those little leaf bugs that looks like a leaf, and it evolves into a bug dragon.
That's cool. Stick
He
bug.
wants it to be that worm, man. He wants it to be
Magikarp
that.
would be bug, and then Gyarados would be bug flying, or bug dragon. I mean,
Fun.
That's cool. Gulpin, I feel like is prime for something.
I don't even know what it
Gulpin
is.
Into a
is-
trash can.
It's a stomach, I think.
Into a trash can. See, so for me, like when I think of these, I always turn them into inanimate objects. I don't know why, but like they become animals, turn into like random objects when I think
No,
of trying to make
Gulpin-
them myself.
I'm pretty sure Gulpin is literally based on like a stomach. It's just
Then
yeah, like
make it
literally an
another
organ. Yeah.
Make it another organ. It's a lung now. It's flying type.
Like that could turn into literally anything. I feel
That
like.
would be awesome. Like a good
Get a
pun.
brain psychic type.
Yeah,
Make it a
Genius.
brain.
that's true. Yeah, that's so weird. So Lumi, you were saying you have this list of Pokemon right here. Ah, this is so cool. An aloe, like an aloe vera, the plant, the succulent. An aloe that looks like Staryu, and it'll be grass type, and then evolve into a grass and fairy type.
I have like a whole thing thought out on this too. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen an aloe plant, but they even some of them even kind of are star shaped, and they're just a little bit spinier. So that's why I'm imagining like a really spiny green Staryu, and it would be like we said grass, and then it would evolve into grass fairy, and would get like healer as an ability because like aloe vera is supposed to
Look
have
at
like
that.
healing properties. But I think that would be really neat.
That is awesome. That is one of the coolest things. I want that so bad, and you're right. From top down, it looks like a Starmie. Like, look at this. Oh, that's so cool.
All right.
I love it. It'd be
can
awesome.
And you also wrote this one, Stingray Zubat, water electric. You want to
Okay,
explain
I
that?
can. That's a little harder to like, I guess, picture. But I imagine like it would. So its ears would become its eyes, and like their eyes kind of poking out of its head, right? Or it could be like little probes, like Mantine and Manticav.
Yeah.
And you have its barbs. Zubat has these barbs. Those become, a stinger. It's a stingray.
I love that. With the two like tails or feet or whatever it has.
Right. Yeah. And
Right.
then as Golbat, just you can maybe have the stingray, the stinger shrink a little bit with Golbat. I don't know.
Do
I
you have
can
any
picture
ideas?
it
Sol?
with Zubat. I can't picture it with Golbat as well, but I can picture it with Zubat and Crobat very well.
No, I don't have any ideas. I'm like so stumped. I'm stumped on like making these up in my mind. I've thought about it a million times, even back before they were revealed. I was just like, how do I turn this Pikachu into something else? You know,
because it's not
tough.
just like it almost has to make sense. What the way they probably thought of these was like, let's think of an idea, or let's think of like an animal or something that doesn't quite look like what it should, and then they just like picked a Pokemon where I was like, no, I can see like this being something, and then they basically made a new Pokemon design to look identical. They probably just like mix and match. They were like, all right, let's just make this happen.
It just still has to have the same face, basically. Like you know,
but the same shape too.
Yeah,
the same shape.
The fact that they, because I do agree with Dusty. I think it was you said earlier that you felt like they were doing just these 4 to kind of test the waters.
Yeah.
I feel like that is kind of if that's the case, and I do think that is the case, then they have to be pretty confident that they can come up with more.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That made me think of something, though. Would you call it successful right now?
Yes.
I would.
I would.
Yeah, people like them.
People like it. It's gotten a lot of talk. Any press is good press. I've seen a few people say that they think that they're a waste of a deck slot. But my thought on that is people seem to think that like if Wiglet and Wugtrio and Toedscool and Toedscruel were out of the game, there'd be 4 other Pokemon. No, it would just be 4 less Pokemon. It's not like Game Freak was deciding between this and a bug dragon and said, well, let's go with the eel,
I agree and I disagree. I don't think that there wouldn't be anything. I think that there would be like other regional forms or something. Like they would, they have like a set amount that they probably wanted to do. Yeah. And then, but I agree with you that people think that they take up slots, just even like the Paradox Pokemon. No, they probably would have given forms to older Pokemon instead of the Paradox. Like they would have made Gigantamax for the older Pokemon.
There's only been a handful of Pokedexes that have really increased the total amount of Pokemon like so much. So Gen 1, Gen 3, and Gen 5. Every other gen, even this gen, has leaned so much on introducing new forms or Pokemon that look similar enough to other Pokemon. So I feel like, you're really not getting brand new designs if you got these from the decks.
I don't really mind it much either. It's just like
I don't either.
You have to like understand something about Pokemon designs, and that's the same thing with like what we were talking about earlier, Lumi, with just having like a goofy design. Like I don't like goofy designs at all, but I understand that they have to be there. Yeah. So like the same thing with this, like they may be like really redundant designs, but I understand that they kind of have to be there. I don't think that like a Pokemon like Wugtrio should probably not exist to me. Like that thing is just literally a Dugtrio with a different color and thinner.
See, to me, it is like a better Dugtrio. It's what Dugtrio should be.
Yeah,
it's just not good.
Get rid of Dugtrio, not Wugtrio.
Okay,
see,
well,
I think Wugtrio is
good.
I think if Diglett and Dugtrio never existed and they released Wiglet and Wugtrio, I think people would like it.
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. I still wouldn't love Wugtrio. It'd probably be like a mid-tier kind of thing for me, but it's better for sure than Dugtrio.
One of the best things about it.
I just think it should have went like more like Wiglet, like curved over. Just curve it.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that, where it like curved and like it had a face instead of like its face was just on its body, not separated.
Why did they go backwards? That's my thing.
I did not like that.
It does curve. It just curves at a different point. It curves at the
bottom. Like the bottom.
Yeah, I like that. I like that it hides in the rock. I think it's kind of cool.
I like that too. It's just literally that it's too similar for me that I don't like it. But
what would be cool? What would be cool is if they gave us all right, they give us 10 Toedscool, right? And then its evolution, which I do like Toedscool, but the evolution is a further deviation from the base Pokemon, right?
I would love that.
That would feel right, because when Wiglet came out, a lot of us wanted a Wugtrio that looked more like an eel, had like ripples or like fins on its head to make it look more like a fish. And I think these are
that route. I could see them. I mean, you figure with regional variants, they eventually did regional evolutions.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. Like, literally, they just give us this for like this generation, maybe the next like game, But then the game after, they're going to be like, oh, look, your regional variant evolved into a regional variant evolution, which is, just copy and paste it same way. And it'd be completely different.
That's really
Branch it out to other, because a lot of this is very similar to how they handled variants in Sun and Moon. Only giving it to Kanto Pokemon, it being very copy paste, and kind of like what we talked about, the designs being a lot more stale. Like Diglett and Alolan Diglett is not as big of a difference as they started to do down the road with these variants, in my opinion, at least.
You want to talk about things that shouldn't exist?
Yeah.
The
original Wiglet should not exist.
So bad, man. It's so bad. It really is so bad.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen a tweet I put out a long time ago, but they totally, I don't care what anybody says, they hinted to these freaking Wiglet and Wugtrio in Gen 7.
Really?
There's like a quest that you have to like show this girl a Alolan Dugtrio.
Oh, and she's
from Spain. She's Spanish.
Yeah, she speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
And she's like, nope, that's not the one I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So
I mentioned that in a video I put out yesterday. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was totally a hint.
So that
I think so.
Basically, I mean, we've talked about how like Gen 7 and 9 have kind of been very similar. I think Gen 9's been in development. At least some of the concepts have been in development since Generation 7. But I guess probably around Gen 6 when they were really thinking. I feel like everything post Gen 6 has kind of felt interconnected, or at least like they shifted the future of the franchise, right? They were like, yeah, they're like, this can't just be the same thing over and over again. And I feel like when they were thinking of regional forms, they were probably like, we could also do Convergent. That makes me think now, is there like a third new thing that they would want to introduce maybe in Gen 11 or something?
They definitely have stuff planned, and no doubt about that.
It's crazy to think like this is something we probably couldn't have imagined or thought that they would do, and there's something else that we're not thinking about that they could totally do at some point, and eventually it'll be done. In Gen 11 they'll introduce some new kind of evolution that we're just floored by. Maybe they'll do like, I don't know, co-evolution, where like
almost like a new form of like breeding.
Right, like co-evolution is where, for example, there's I think it's a hummingbird. It has like a curved beak or whatever, and these flowers adapted to have curved stems so that they became a perfect fit for each other.
Oh, so like they evolved together kind of thing.
Right, and so I could see them doing that where like they take an old Pokemon like Butterfree and they now make a flower Pokemon that evolves to kind of be a perfect match for Butterfree.
Ooh.
I don't know. So it doesn't look like Butterfree,
you should send it to them.
But it's like a puzzle piece.
That kind of feels like, that's cool. That kind of feels
instead of like
it's like Remoraid to Mantine, right? How they have that like co-op, or it's
but it'd be a little bit different from that. It'd be like, imagine that Mantine on its body had slots for Remoraid to go into. You know what I mean? Like where they're kind of like two pieces of a puzzle. So I guess
Remoraid would have to evolve too into something.
We've kind of seen a version of this in Gen 9, Tatsugiri and Dondozo. I mean, that's similar in that way.
That's a
so maybe that's them teasing that up for Gen 10. Maybe Gen 10 or Gen 11 we see a co-evolution.
See, that is really cool, but I feel like the third one would, if there is another one, would have to be a new type of form, right? Where they're making callbacks to older Pokemon. What's this image
just
that you
sent
pulled
the
up
thing
right
with
here?
the flower and the
that's cool.
Bird, yeah.
That's interesting.
So you see
so they're almost like they're parallels to each other.
Right, but that's completely really cool. Different things, a bird and a flower.
That's cool. I like that. And that reminds me of like what is the Pokemon? The grass mantis Pokemon? Lurantis, right?
Yeah. Lurantis, yeah.
It is different, but it's like a form of camouflage. Maybe that's what they lean into. More designs like that, right?
That's a genius Pokemon, by the way.
That is cool. I like Lurantis.
Yeah. Like if there was a regional fake for Scizor, like to call back what you said earlier, it would have to be something like that. But even that,
I could see it being a crab. I could see if they did Convergent evolution.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's even got crab pinchers,
It does.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I bet you'd love that.
I would. Dude. Let me tell you something. Y'all are the big Scizor fans. I do like Scizor. I think it's an objectively cool design, but it's just not one of my favorites because there's 1,000 Pokemon. But
It's one of the best.
they made like a crab Scizor. Yeah, no, it's probably you
That
guys
would be cool.
can main Scizor.
What is
and
it
I'm
in
gonna
all?
main this one.
Is it going to be on all fours?
That would
I
be
think
tough.
it would be like a bipedal crab.
That's cool. Oh man, I kind of like that now.
Yeah. I'm gonna laugh when like we have like an artist that ends up doing all these. They listen
I
to
hope-
this and then they just like
Dude,
start
if
drawing them
y'all do
off.
and you send it to me, oh my gosh, we will feature them in
We will
like our
definitely feature
podcast
them.
episode. Throw them up if y'all want to draw
Definitely.
these.
So I got one more thing to bring up. We've got Slowbro. Did you guys ever notice that Slowbro is classified as a crab, as a hermit crab? That's kind of bizarre.
Freaking weird.
Is this
Isn't
the
that
last
weird?
thing you wanted to bring up?
No, actually, no. I actually,
Okay.
I do have two more things actually.
Okay, cool. No,
But-
but yeah, I did know that. It's just weird that it is. I agree.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about like convergent species, right? Like it would make sense if there's a crab that evolves, obviously, to be like a hermit crab, right? In some way.
Yeah, I can't see it, but I agree.
I mean,
That
it doesn't
would be-
because there's lobster. I guess that's not a crab, but there are lobster I know
Same thing.
that
Crustacean.
don't actually have claws.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
There are
could see something
crabs that
similar
have
to that.
very small claws.
It's true.
Or even
Yeah.
like fiddlers have, a big one and a little one.
Slowbro has 3 little like white claws. What if they just had 2, and then those were like the little pincers, right?
Yeah.
This Shelter, like this version of Shelter you see on the Slowbro, that would kind of be an example of co-evolution.
Yes, yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Because
I can't believe you called it Shelter.
because that's what it's supposed to be. It's Shelter.
I know. It's just that I'm like beta Pokemon.
The beta
minded,
Pokemon,
like, all
yeah.
the time.
It's
So I'm just
Turbid.
like that's
It's
its
Turbid,
own
right?
Pokemon. Yeah,
I
Turbid.
mean, unfortunately, though, it isn't because they scrapped it and they made it
I
Shelter.
know
Which
it
I
hurts
hate.
my soul.
It's
But
so
maybe
bad.
that's what
No.
they do. If they do co-evolution in Gen 10, Gen 11, they add, they make Turbin a real thing.
Oh, dude, you know what's so sick? This is essentially like a fusion. Like, what if the what did you call it? The co-op or
Co-evolution.
the co-evolution is literally like if these 2 Pokemon are in your party, this one will evolve, and this
Like Tatsugiri and Dondozo, kind of. I mean, Tatsugiri
Yeah.
actually goes in. There's like an actual action in battle that happens.
It's like you're unlocking a new evolution that is very specific, and it's almost that's kind of cool, man. Because I've been talking about like, I think fusion could be cool. Fusion's always been a thing in Pokemon. I don't want it to be like Digimon fusion or whatever, where it's like, it has to make sense in some sort of biological way.
Right, yeah.
And this would be a really cool way where it's like literally if you actually have Shelter and Slowpoke, I guess they wouldn't evolve together because I don't like that. I feel like they should both stay separate. But maybe one of them evolves in a certain way. Like maybe
I do think it would be cool if you had 2 that literally like evolve together. So like you have, say, for example, Slowpoke and Shelter. If they were to go back and do this, it'd be like if they evolve at level 32, but it has to be together. So if Slowpoke's at 32, but Shelter's at 25, no, not going to work. They have to both level up. Slowpoke levels up to 32. Shelter levels up to 37. It could be different levels. It just has to meet that minimum requirement. And they both evolve. Maybe even give it a special evolution where you see them evolve together.
I guess I don't like the idea of like training a Pokemon and then having it disappear. Essentially, like you'd be like, what if the Shelter was a shiny, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't do that. It would be 2 separate
they would be
Pokemon.
2 separate,
But then
yeah.
They both evolve.
Kind of like, yeah. And then in battle, like Tatsugiri and Dondozo, they do some kind of action where they, fuse. Like, there isn't, Tatsugiri just literally goes inside Dondozo. Like, you don't see it on Dondozo anywhere. But it would be like an improved version of that in terms of what it does in battle, where like it raises Dondozo's stats and, it actually has an effect on its signature move. It would do that.
That's cool. I would love to see
great
something like this in
idea.
the future. Okay, so the last 2 things these are 2 things that I've thought about. When we first heard about the regional fakes, I was like, one of these has to be it. I don't know if these are as cool as Lumi's. Like Aloe Staryu, I want that so bad. But I like the idea of a crabgrass Krabby. That makes sense to me.
That'd be cool.
Like, let me pull up an image of like crabgrass. It's kind of like the aloe, where it just like it's here. Let me show it up. Like crabgrass has these very thick like sections of it where it looks like crab legs. That's what I think.
Right.
And then there's a pun there as well.
Maybe even do cloth. You could do like it doesn't have to be Krabby. It could be any of the
It could be, yeah.
Crabmons, you know.
I think Krabby is like up for grabs when it comes to like a regional form or some sort of like addition. It
got a Gigantamax.
It did get that. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And then the other one is like any sort of catfish Pokemon that looks like any sort of cat Pokemon. I think that could also be a really...
yeah, it would make a lot of sense.
That would make sense. And these are just puns that I thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely good.
And I think they do it with some of them. Yeah. I mean, they would be punny with some of them, especially as you go further down the road, you know?
Yeah. Do you guys have any more ideas on this thought?
Yeah, I would say, like, what do we think for the future of it? I know we kind of talked about it before, but, like, does it replace regional evolutions? For me, like, my whole theory is that or not regional evolutions, sorry, regional forms. Yeah. My whole idea is that they will be, like, specifically saved for Legends games if they make more. Like, I think
more
that they will do...
forms?
Yeah, like, regional forms will be, like, the staple of Legends games, or like side games even.
I could see that. Another option I would propose is that, similar to kind of what you were saying earlier, Soul, when we were talking about if these had been removed from the game, what that would do. I could see them saying they're going into a new gym. Okay, it's Gen 10. We're setting aside. We're going to do 20 of the new Pokemon, you know, like including evolutions too, would be some kind of regional form of some kind. And I could see it a thing of, if they just think of a different salamander, then they do Powdam Wooper. But if they think of something that looks completely different, or is completely different, like a Toadscool where it's a mushroom, not a jellyfish, they would do that. And like it will both coexist, and it'll just be a thing of, if we like 7 Convergent designs and we like 7 regional form designs, then those will be the ones we use. But if we like 12 regional forms and only 4, you know, that kind of thing, I could see it being like that.
Could be. Definitely could. I
wonder. I do also think that they could phase them out too, because I mean, like I said, it's not sustainable. It's fine now that we've only got 4 different variants, but when you get to Gen 15, you figure you're gonna have the Gen 10 variants, the Gen 11 variants, the Gen 12 variants, the Gen 13 variants, the Gen 14 variants, the Gen 15 variants, and then whatever Legends games we have in there too. That's too much.
I would rebuttal and say I think National Dex was all about like
getting rid of that.
Yeah, National Dex was the failsafe. National Dex is essentially, we can have a Gen 13 game and it doesn't need to include every single other thing that existed. So I think, yeah, maybe they can pull back, but I think a huge pull for a lot of people, a huge marketing device is like, look at this Pokemon that it has a new form, right? It's like, I don't think they're going to want to let that go, right?
I do think that they fixed it with the National Dex cut. Like that, it kind of fixes that whole problem. I wasn't even thinking about that, but it's true. Like, we can always have the National Dex on paper, like on Bulbapedia. Okay, so
yes,
we can put them in order, fine. But in the games, like, the games themselves will just have the Pokemon that are related to those games, and then whenever they make a remake, they put in the forms of that specific region.
And they can make traditional Wooper like available through one in-game trade, right? Or Galarian Meowth, but it doesn't need to be. Not everything needs to be accessible.
Yeah, which fans hate that, but it is the only way forward to like make all this stuff happen. It's either get rid of regional forms or get rid of having
and it allows them to be more creative, right? Like Paradox Pokemon don't need to be explained in future games, right? Dynamax Pokemon don't need to be added into future games, right? The dual purpose there is that every single game, one, they can do whatever they want in any single game, and also every single game can now have its own contained unique experience. Like, if you miss Dynamax, if you want to experience that, you have to play Gen 8, or you have to play Sword and Shield specifically. And the same thing goes for the Pokemon as well.
Right. It makes a lot of sense to me. I was going to agree with Lumi totally, but then you just hit me with that.
Now we've got a question from Monica San. Probably just my wishful thinking, but I really hope in Generation 10 we get to have all Pokemon in the Pokedex. be it regional, Paradox, Hisuian, whatever, plus all the gimmicks, Z-moves, Dynamax, Gigantamax, Mega and Terra types, and Gen 10 gimmick like the Anime Master 8 battles, where all the strong trainers we know from previous gens like Cynthia, Leon, Red, etc. I understand that given how lazy they have been in recent games, that's not true. What I mentioned is very unlikely to happen, but if they did do that, I'd be very happy.
I personally think that it is possible that they do the first part of what she says, where all Pokemon are in. I know that's a lofty thing, but I could totally see them doing Gen 10 in 3 years, like is scheduled, if you look at past patterns, and then the 30th anniversary would be the following year, and for that, they patch all the Pokemon in. I could see that. But they, just for the balance of the game, they will not have all the gimmicks in. I could see, and maybe this is what they do on the 30th. Instead of patching them all into whatever the Gen 10 games are, maybe they instead release a stadium-type game that year that has all the Pokemon in it, so like you can kind of connect your home to it, and then I could see maybe them doing all the gimmicks in it. Like it's a thing of like you're doing a Z move bracket or a mega bracket. It's not like I can bring them all. It's if that makes sense.
That's something
it makes total sense.
That's something that I think makes sense. But what I'm realizing is that I think even though, so I feel like the main series game, like the core game, right? Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, those have become the competitive standard, right? That's the game. If you want to play competitive, that's the game you get to play competitive, right? Because then all of a sudden gives a purpose for you to continue playing Pokemon every single day, doing your daily tasks, doing your raids, collecting Herba Mystica, all that stuff, right? Like shiny hunting, breeding, whatever. I feel like they don't want to sacrifice that, because if they make a central game that they can continue to update, I feel like that's gonna disincentivize a lot of people from buying the main series Pokemon games, right? It's like if you have all these options, like I think it's good that they give us like a faithful remake, right, for that experience. They give us Legends for that experience. They give us all these different games for different experiences. That's all great, but I feel like at a point, if they make too many experiences, all of a sudden Pokemon sales might drop, right? And then
that's true?
It fragment the fans. I feel like.
I do think that's true. The one thing I could say to that is that VGC would still run on the Gen 10 games, and then not only that, but the thing is, if you want to use the Gen 10 Pokemon, you're gonna have to buy the Gen 10 game. It's not like you can get them all in Stadium.
It's like Pokemon Go. Right? It's like in Pokemon Go. If you want to play with the new Pokemon, you have to play the main series game, but then there's also like this living, breathing economy or ecosystem, right? Rather than people going to Showdown to play Pokemon, like with their old Pokemon, they just go to this old thing that'll get the Pokemon eventually, the Gen 10 Pokemon eventually.
And they do this with other things. I mean, they incentivize you to play all their games, we know that they're going to lock roaming form Gimmighoul to go. They locked Meltan and Melmetal. You have to evolve Meltan and Go if you want it to evolve. But then also the way you get it is you have to do, or you don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier to have Let's Go so you can like get the mystery box to open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the main problem with that is just that this is a complaint, question, comment, whatever, right? The problem is that if they did it that way, people would just have more to complain about. They'd be like, I have to buy this to do this now. I don't know. I don't know if it would actually work that way. I don't know if any of it would work. I want it to happen so badly. Like that's my dream game, is like a Stadium that has all of that stuff in it. To answer,
I'm big on the battles, and I'd love that. And I think it's also because like they're locking forms when they lock these gimmicks. They lock forms. There's Gigantamax forms that when will we get to see them again? What, the Galar remakes that happened in 2090?
No, but the thing I think what's kind of what we were talking about before about like with the national decks, you can experience anything you want in Galar if you go and just play Sword and Shield, right?
And that's good for right now, but eventually,
once it gets too old.
Yeah, that's
Heart
true.
Gold, my black and white game. I have Pokemon Black and White, and I have 2 copies of White. Both of them have the blue screen of death, is what it's called, where I put them in my
Yeah,
DS and I
that's
cannot play them.
horrifying.
So
That's horrifying.
one day, Sword and Shield will be as like obsolete as Pokemon White is right now in terms of how available it is to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just maybe they just gotta get the remakes out quicker, or like just we have to just endure a few years of not being able to have it. You know, like because Gen 5 remakes are coming around the corner, and so like
Right.
you know it's almost time again.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how the cookie crumbles there.
Honestly, a
It's,
great way to solve it is doing virtual console. Like
yeah,
putting them on, like they did that with yellow, red, blue, crystal. I think maybe they didn't do crystal. They definitely did gold and silver on the 3DS. They
Yeah.
need to do that for. I mean, Dusty, you talked about in your Future of Pokemon video, like putting, fire red, leaf green, ruby, sapphire, emerald on
Yeah, I
the
think that
Switch. That would be perfect.
Yeah, there was some data mines that came out that suggested we would get that. I think that is definitely something that's going to happen. And then once we get the Legends Johto game, maybe a little bit after that, then they give us Gen 1 and Gen 2 on Virtual Console.
I love how you say it like it's happening. Like no doubt.
It is happening. It
Yeah,
literally is
I
gonna
hope.
happen.
I hope.
Even if it's not,
they
even
have
if it,
it
no, even if it's not Legends Johto, it will be some sort of Johto game. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair to say.
I hope so. I really do.
I
I was thinking about that.
There's no way we get a Unova game right now. We just literally
I don't know.
this year we got our Sinnoh remake. Gen
But
5's not
Dustin,
happening
you're the
for
one-
6 years.
You're the one who always says that, like, if you expect one thing, they're going to try to curveball you and do another. So
They're
it
not
may
giving
be
us
you
Gen
gets
5.
curveball. It may be you gets curveball. You may
No,
be
no,
sitting
no.
here. It's Johto next. It's Johto
I've
next.
calculated.
Unova.
I've calculated. I can't be fooled, man. I can't be fooled.
We'll see.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are still watching and enjoying this, hit the subscribe button. We did a poll. It said 60% of you answered the poll and said you're not subscribed. So please fix that.
What
Subscribe.
are you doing?
Hit the like button.
Subscribe.
If you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, do us. You get a minute. You got 60 seconds to kill. Rate us. That'd be great. You could follow us there as well. All of our social links will be in the description. Sol is so active on Twitter, so that's definitely where you can keep up with him. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Peace.